Welcome to Enlighten TV, home of trending news, where we publish news on politics, entertainment, celebrity, and metro news. Today's headline reads, Constitution Review, National Assembly holds the assets. If this is your first time of listening to this channel, I urge you to click on the subscribe button below this video and the bell icon beside the subscribe button to stay notified of our trending news. Don't miss out. Now the news in detail. How would the Ahmed Lawan and Femi Gabamila led 9th National Assembly be remembered by posterity? That is a question only the lawmakers can determine. So far, they have not performed badly, though the parliament is yet to distinguish itself from others before it sees the advent of the Fourth Republic. Nevertheless, the utterances of its principal officers at the outset, when they were trying to establish themselves at the helm, had earned the parliament the sobriquet of being a rubber stamp to the Muhammad Buhari-led executive. Though it has been trying to jettison that baggage in recent times, the commitment of the arm of government to the welfare of Nigerians are still in doubt. The priority of the lawmakers, which is reflected in the type of bill they are vigorously pursuing to enact into law, has often engaged ordinary Nigerians on the streets. For instance, at the time Nigerians are clamoring for the removal of the immunity enjoyed by key members of the executive arm of government, a bill to grant same to the principal officers of the legislative arm at various levels has passed second reading at the House of Representatives. This is in spite of the fact that the lawmakers already enjoy parliamentary immunity and cannot be prosecuted for utterance made on the floor of the various lawmaking chambers. But its current bid to amend the Constitution may become the turning point. The decision of the 9th Senate to set up a 56-member committee to review the 1999 Constitution and effect an amendment where necessary offers a glimmer of hope to Nigerians that some of the contradictions in the 1999 Constitution that impede harmony and development of the country may be sorted out. Nigerians have over the years criticized the Constitution for concentrating too many powers in the hands of the federal government and for not providing the incentives for the federating unit to become the driving force for development. Senate President Ahmed Lawan acknowledged when he was setting up the committee that Nigerians are not happy with the state of affairs within the political arena. He said, Nigerians definitely have an interest in the constitution review that the National Assembly will embark upon. There are several issues that Nigerians feel strongly about. The Constitution Review Committee is supposed to be a platform where such issues will be brought, and where those who are interested should ensure that they make every possible effort, including presentations, for their views to be considered. As a National Assembly, particularly the Senate, we want to have a very stable country. We want a country that gives every citizen the opportunity to actualize his or her dream. We want to have a security that is enhanced and an economy that works for everyone. Stability of the polity is important. We need to have a country before we run for elections or indeed undertake any activities. So we advise that any organization or individual that has anything that should be taken on by the committee should make submissions into the Constitution Review Committee. Deputy Senate President Ovi Ome Agege, who heads the Constitution Review Committee, has further raised the hope of Nigerians when he said members of the panel are going to study the report of the 2014 National Conference and that of the All Progressive Congress (APC) on restructuring to with a view of incorporating some of the recommendations into proposals for amendment. But in spite of the optimism of the Senate President and his deputy, many Nigerians are yet to be convinced that the National Assembly means business this time around. Given the experience of previous exercises by the National Assembly and the report of several panels and conferences on the same subject still gathering dust on the shelf, the question on the lips of many observers is, how far would the current set of lawmakers go in their bid to amend the 1999 Constitution? Previous exercises have also tried to appeal to the interests of the common people, but at the end of the day, not much came out of such attempts. Former second vice president of the Nigerian Bar Association (NBA), Monday Onyekachi Obani, said it is up to the lawmakers to do the needful or resort to yet another round of tokenism to give the impression that they are interested in listening to the yearning of Nigerians. His words, it would go as far as they want it to go. In previous occasions, lawmakers used to use the issue of amending the Constitution to siphon public funds in the past, and in the end wasted those resources without achieving any tangible result. If this set of lawmakers want to indulge in a comprehensive amendment this time around, based on complaints of Nigerians about past efforts, they can achieve something if they are sincere, but like in the past, they are only interested in playing to the gallery. They would just squander the funds budgeted for it, and that would be the end of the matter. Former Ogun State Governor Aremo Olusegun Osoba disagreed with those who are of the view that the National Assembly has no role to play in providing the kind of a constitution that would satisfy the yearnings of Nigerians who want the country to return to true federalism. Speaking in Lagos last Thursday during the launching of Professor Ben Nwabueze's latest book, President Buhari's Distinctive Legacies to Nigeria and Further Thoughts on the Nigerian Constitution and Policy, he said, the way things are now, Nigerians cannot do without the National Assembly. His words, I trust that we, the believers in political restructuring through devolution of power, should focus our attention on the National Assembly as the theater of action for the noble cause to be realized. The Assembly consists of the elected representatives who must be wooed, lobbied, engaged, and persuaded to understand that the agenda we table is a patriotic one that is development focused and requires urgency to rescue our political and economic future. It is one that can help us manage our diversity better and free our resources and talent for effective deployment where they are most needed. For instance, Osoba said only the National Assembly can convoke a national conference by enacting a law to that effect. He added that the legislature can also amend the Constitution to pave the way for a referendum to ratify a new constitution made by the conference. He said the APC, which has devolution of power in its manifesto, has rested its commitment to restructuring through the NASA El-Rufai Committee. The APC chieftain admitted, however, that since the committee submitted its report 2 years ago, the party ought to have gone ahead with its implementation through legislative action in the National Assembly. The former governor said, since the Senate had announced a constitution review team, let us help them to make a success of it by engaging them positively. He added, our situation demands urgency and not unproductive air splitting. Where there is the will, there is a way, he said. Engaging the National Assembly requires a bit partisan approach that appeals to the patriotic cause of the Senate and representatives on what Nigeria stands to gain from restructuring. In this regard, he gave credit to Senator Bukola Saraki's led 8th Senate. He listed 28 alterations amendments made by the 8th Senate under his watch. Usoba said the National Assembly can do more with the backing of 2/3 of state assemblies. He said the federal government cannot be the center of development and that, indeed, it needs to be free to concentrate on 3 critical areas: finance and custom union, defense and foreign affairs. He added, we need to let the Senate and local government drive those development efforts that touch our people directly, such as agriculture, education, and health. Former national chairman of the United Progressive Party (UPP), one of the recently deregistered parties, Chief Chewas Orie, believed the current exercise will lay the foundation for restructuring the country. He said some appreciable constitutional amendments have been done under the Buhari administration, albeit in trances, and that the current one is likely to be more comprehensive. His words, the current bid to review the constitution should provide Nigerians a very viable and assured means of restructuring the country. Unfortunately, previous National Assembly members have not helped matters by introducing extraneous matters such as state term agenda and so on. But since the Buhari administration came, there have been some amendments that came in transit, especially the aspect of the constitution concerning elections, such as the registration of parties, which is now captured in the constitution. Okorie, whose former party has just collapsed its structure into that of the All Progressive Congress (APC), said the current exercise is likely to be comprehensive. He said, this one is expected to be comprehensive, and I would expect other Nigerians who are apprehensive of political restructuring to begin to understand that it is in the interest of the whole country. Over the years, there has been a call for a holistic amendment of the Constitution to incorporate some yearnings and aspirations of the people. The reference is that the 1999 Constitution, which was foisted on Nigerians by the military, is a fraud because representatives of the over 350 ethnic nationalities did not make an input in the fashioning of the document. Though Nigeria is supposed to be practicing the federal system of government, the Constitution largely retains the unitary structure that has been in place since the advent of military rule. Against this background, the Omo Agege panel already has an idea about the sort of changes Nigerians want to see in the 1999 Constitution. For instance, in July 2017, the ruling APC set up a panel headed by Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai to come up with the party's definition of restructuring. Among the recommendations of the APC Committee on Restructuring are resource control, state police, control of local government by state, a constitutional amendment to allow the merger of states, state court of appeal, and independent candidacy. Okorie said the APC panel's recommendation is in sync with what Nigerians have been clamoring, and it should be acceptable to the party stakeholders because it has been accepted and approved by its National Executive Committee. Similarly, the report of former President Goodluck Jonathan's 2014 National Conference, which many Nigerians have been clamoring for its implementation, is also a source of idea for the panel. The conference has recommended for the creation of 18 new states, 3 political zones, and an additional one for the Southeast, and merger of states that are willing to do so, on resource control to fiscal federalism. It recommendation that the federal government should set up a technical committee to determine the appropriate percentage on issues of reconstruction of areas ravaged by insurgency and internal conflict, as well as solid mineral depots development. The conference also recommended that the sharing of funds that accrue to the federal account should be done in the following manner: federal government 42.5%, state government 35%, and local government 22.5%. It also recommended reducing the percentage that is given to the population and equality of states in the existing sharing formula. It also recommended that local government should no longer be the third tier of government, and that federal government and state government should be the only tiers of government. It proposed that states can create as many local government as they want. It equally recommended independent candidacy, removal of immunity clause if the offences attract criminal charges, special courts to handle corruption cases, stoppage of government sponsorship of pilgrims to holy lands, modified presidential system, among other things. Obani believes the most important thing is for the panel to gauge the views of Nigerians to authenticate some of the prevailing views. He said they need to go round the country and do town hall meeting to get the view of Nigerians. I remember vividly the town hall meeting conducted on the autonomy of local government. Virtually everyone voted for autonomy, but at the end of the day, the verdict was different from what people voted for. This time around, they should be able to listen to the views of Nigerians on those sections of the Constitution that require alteration and reflect it in the amendment, so that we can have a country that is functional. One of the demands Nigerians have made in the past is to have an entirely new constitution made by the people, but in the absence of a brand new constitution, if we want to continue with this patch approach, let's do it in such a manner to reflect the views of the people. The legal practitioner said there are many areas of the constitution that require amendments. His words: we want an amendment with some of the things that have to do with the electoral system. We want an amendment on the Land Use Act, removing it from the Constitution. We want Section 2 of the Constitution, which has to do with the policy of a government, so that it can become jurisdictable. The way it is now, you cannot take any elected executive to court on issues bordering on health, education, security, and the likes. We want the immunity enjoyed by members of the executive removed. Most importantly, the enormous powers bestowed on the federal government in the exclusive list, such as the issue of power and security, should be removed to the current list. The creation of local government should be left in the hands of the state. State can create as many local governments as they like, as long as they can maintain them. There is a need for fiscal federation where states can generate revenue to fund their activities. If states are allowed to generate their funds and contribute a percentage of it to the common pursuit, they would have enough to take care of local government. Other areas, Obani said, are those that appertain to the independence of the judiciary, the removal of the Code of Conduct Tribunal from the control of the executive. He said the need has risen to reform the National Judicial Commission (NJC) and to unbundle the Supreme Court to allow each state or region to have their Supreme Court, so that the Supreme Court of Nigeria in Abuja would be saddled with only constitutional matters and novel issues. Okorie said devolution of powers have become necessary in the face of current realities in the country. For instance, he said there is a need for state and community policing because the country is too large to come under a central police command. He added, that is why it looks as if our internal security challenges are intractable. He agrees with the view that the country should revert back to fiscal federalism. His words, fiscal federalism is one aspect that would help this country because it would make some states to be more creative in generating revenue. On the other hand, it will also compel the lazy ones to wake up and learn how to generate their revenue. There is something that is not right in a situation where you charge value added tax, VAT, for instance, on certain commodities, especially consumables that are prohibited in some parts of the country, and the same people that prohibit the sale of those goods in their state end up grabbing the lion's share of the revenue generated from such consumption. It is not only ironical, it is abuse, absurd. There is also the need to exploit the generation of more revenue from solid minerals deposit in the country. There is no part of the country that is not endowed with one mineral resource or the other. It is no longer a question of oil alone. Agriculture has become a major source of income. So, it is about time we go back to the derivation principle in revenue allocation. But there are certain aspects of revenue allocation that should be discontinued, such as using land mass as a factor in allocation. This is because we vast land mass that is unoccupied in certain parts of the country, and it is not fair to use such criterion because there is nobody inhabiting those lands. I would also expect merit to be given emphasis in university admission, appointments, and in employment opportunities rather than using a quota system. We also need to amend the law to scrap the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board (JAM). JAM may have been relevant when it was introduced, but at the stage we are now, I don't think we need to continue with the system, particularly with many private universities and state universities which should be allowed to set their standards. Universities that have poor standards will have their products unemployable, and that would be their own headache. However, elder statesmen and Second Republic politician Alhaji Tanko Yakasai see nothing wrong with the 1999 constitution as amended and is not in support of reducing the so-called enormous power of the federal government. Yakasai, 93, summarizes his problem with restructuring very succinctly with the following words: my problem with Nigerians is that many of them who are clamoring for a change in the constitution have not read the document. People always clamor for the transfer of power or some items from the exclusive list to the current concurrent list. What they do not understand is that the items on the exclusive list that can be transferred to the current list are not that much. Besides, many do not understand that even when such items are transferred to the current list and state laws conflict with federal laws, the matter would override the former. That is to say, such state law would be null and void. So, I am not in support of transferring any item from the exclusive list to the concurrent list. That is not where the problem lies. The problem with Nigeria today is the weak political party system. If we have a strong political party system and an efficient judiciary, we would have credible elections and most of our problems would be solved. What we require is a strong political party system that will take control of the party away from the president and the governors. This would be such that nobody can emerge as a candidate for elective offices unless he or she enjoys the backing of members of the party. When we have that in place, we would always have fair and credible elections where the wishes of the majority of Nigerians will prevail. When this is complemented by an independent judiciary, the system will gradually be sanitized. Yakasai's point regarding the political party system appears like a valid one, as recent Supreme Court judgments suggest. Be that as it may, many Nigerians are in agreement that the present constitution cannot be improved upon, but the Umu Agege panel is likely to face a challenge of convincing all the zones in the country to buy into all the numerous recommendations and incorporating same into the new legal framework. Even if the panel manages to surmount the challenges, convincing President Buhari to assent to the proposals in another hall is another hurdle. Buhari has never hidden his suspicion for restructuring, which he sees as a way to dismember the Nigerian Federation. Indeed, incorporating the recommendation of the 2014 National Conference into the constitution would be an uphill task. The ruling APC boycotted the conference, describing it as fraudulent and divisionary. Besides, many of the recommendations do not sit well with the northern political establishment. However, they support the Western Nigerian Security Network, condemned Omotekun, seems to be getting from different parts of the country, including parts of the north, could be an indication that some of the recommendations may be acceptable to all the geopolitical zones. Previous constitutional reviews by the National Assembly shows that Nigerians were not given the value for the money spent on such exercises. Since 2011, the sum of 1 billion has always been voted annually for amendment or review of the constitution. Reports say between 2011 and 2015, for instance, the committees in the House of Representatives and the Senate withdrew and spent a whopping sum of 7.75 billion on public funds in the 4 years purportedly to review 1999 constitution. An undisclosed sum was released for the same purpose between 2015 and 2019 under the Senate presidency of Bukola Saraki, which also carried out a similar constitution amendment exercise. From all indications, constitutional reforms were carried out incrementally in such a way that a lot of gaps are still left uncovered in the document. For instance, many of the proposals that were supported by the majority of Nigerians during previous exercises, such as local government autonomy, devolution of power, rotation of power at legal and state levels, autonomy for the state houses of assembly, electronic voting, and state police were not incorporated into the constitution. With recent development in the political arena, the quest to see such proposals in the constitution has become a matter of urgent necessity. Thank you very much for listening. I want at this point to send in your comments. Don't forget to subscribe to us so you stay updated of our daily news as it comes daily. Don't miss out.